This is Lesson 5-3A from the Algebra Readiness textbook. In your notes packet, work the study guide problems. Then continue the video when you're ready to compare your answer to mine. In the first study guide problem, I see I'm asking you to order the decimals and fractions from least to greatest. I can do this using either all decimals or all fractions. I'm going to go all fractions. -9/10 is the same as -9/10 written like this. Then I look at my denominators of 10, 5, 20, and 10. And I see that the common factor, or the common denominator, is 20. So I'm going to rewrite each of the fractions with a denominator of 20. -9/10 is the same as -18/20. 2/5 is the same as 8/20. 3/20 stays the same. 1/10 is the same as 2/20. Now I simply compare the numerators. So, when I compare the numerators, the first thing I know is that -18/20 is the only negative value. So that is the smallest. -9/10 is the smallest. So then sometimes I like to just X it out so I know I'm done. Then the next one would be 2/20. 2/20 is the same as 1/10, so I'm going to write 1/10 next. Then 3/20 is the next one in order. And the last one is 8/20, which is the same as 2/5. Notice how I always give the answer of the original values, but I use the fractions to help me with that order. The next one, graph the numbers on the number line below. I have 1/4, -7/10, -1/2, and 9/10. In this case, I would like to change these all to decimal form. 1/4 is the same as 25/100, and -1/2 is the same as -5/10. Then on my number line, oops, looks like my number line wants to move with me. On my number line, I'm going to label it in steps of tenths. So -0.7, -6/10, -5, -4. Notice how I'm labeling every single tick mark. That is your job. Some of you like to get a little, you like to shortcut it and not label each tick mark, and that ends up with silly mistakes being made. All right, that should do it. Let's change the color here so we can see it better. All right, so the first one, 1/4 is located at 25/100. Positive 25/100 is halfway between 2/10 and 3/10. See, because here's 2/10, and then this is the halfway between 2 and 3. So we're going to call this 1/4 above it. Next is -7/10. Next is -1/2, which is the same as -0.5. And lastly is 9/10. Now when I read the numbers from smallest to biggest, I can order the numbers. -7/10 is less than -1/2, which is less than 1/4, which is less than 9/10. All right, write each fraction or mixed number as a decimal, and each decimal as a fraction in simplest form. So 51/100. I see that 51 is over 100, so 51/100. The next one, the 2 is in the thousandths place, so 12 over 1,000. And then I can reduce it by dividing the numerator and the denominator by 4. And I get 3 over 250. 4 and 1/4, well, I know that 1/4 is the same as 0.25. So 1 and 25/100. Number 8, 3/10 repeating. To go to a fraction, I put the 3 in the numerator and I place it over a single 9. And then I reduce it by dividing by 3 over 3, and I get 1/3. Number 9, 5/6. That one, I need to actually do 5 divided by 6. 6 does not go into 5, but it does go into 50. Then I add a 0 and I bring it down. 6 goes into 20 3 times. I get 18. Oh, and I see that that 3 is going to repeat. So this is a repeating decimal. Make sure you put a repeating bar over only the 3. And lastly, 51 is repeating, so I put it over 99. 51 and 99 are both divisible by 3. There we go. 51 divided by 3 is 17. 33, or 99 divided by 3 is 33, and that's our answer. All right, that was excellent review. Going on. Today we're going to talk about how to add fractions. To add fractions, you are simply going to find a common denominator. Oh no, all of my fractions are gone. Well, that's less desirable. Okay, have no fear. We can do this. Step 1. Convert your fractions to common denominators, to equivalent fractions with common denominators. Step 2, add and keep. So add the numerators and keep the denominator the same. Let's try this example. -7/8 plus 3/4. I know you already know how to add fractions, but do you see the first thing I give you is a fraction that has a negative. The rules are the same, though, as what you learned in 6th grade about how to add fractions. The rules we learned in Chapter 1 about adding negative numbers are also the same. So let's try this. The common denominator between 8 and 4 is 8. -7/8 plus 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. Now, recall, what is the rule for adding two numbers when one is negative? You actually subtract, don't you? Subtract and give the sign of the bigger absolute value. 7/8 minus 6/8 is 1/8. The number with the larger absolute value is negative, so my answer is negative. So my answer is negative 1/8. So to just recap, we converted the fractions to having a common denominator of 8. Then I used the rules for adding and subtracting integers to subtract the two numbers and give it the sign of the bigger absolute value. All right, the next ones. Have no fear. This one is 9/16 plus 3/4. Let's do this one together. My common denominator is 16. Both of my numbers are positive, so that makes it a little easier, doesn't it? Oops, let's see. Yep. Now I'm going to add my numerators, and I get 21/16. Now, some of you are unsure about what to do when we have an improper fraction. If you have an improper fraction, you simply divide it. What is 21 divided by 16? It goes in one time, and 5/16 remains. And my answer is positive. Okay? All right. I would like you to try these two. Negative 5/42 plus negative 5/12. And then the next one is 3/4 plus 3/8 plus 1/4. Do these along with me. 5/42 and 5/12. Let's see, the common denominator. I'm going to start counting by 12s, 12, 24, 36. That doesn't work. I think 84 is my best bet. So I get negative 10/84 because I multiplied this by 2/2. Then I'm going to multiply this by 7/7. And I get plus negative 35/84. Okay? Now, what is the rule when you are adding two numbers, both of which are negative? Don't I add the two and keep the sign? So my answer, because I'm going more negative, 35 plus 10 is 45. Negative 45/84. Then I reduce it. I see that 45 and 84 are both divisible by 3 using my divisibility rules. 45 divided by 3 is 15. And 84 divided by 3 is 28. Okay. The next one. Again, going with a common denominator of 8. I get 6/8 plus 3/8 plus 2/8. In this case, I'm not worried about positive or negative because they're all positive. So I'm going to add 6 plus 3 is 9, 9 plus 2 is 11, 11/8. This is improper though, so 8 goes into 11 one time, and I have 2/8 remaining. And that's not true. I don't have 2/8 remaining. I have 3/8 remaining. Sorry. And so my answer is 1 3/8. All right, pause the video and try these. Find each sum or difference. Make sure that you change subtraction to adding the opposite. All right, 5 3/4 plus 7/8. I'm going to rewrite this as 5 6/8 plus 7/8. 7 plus 6 is 13/8. So I really have 5 13/8, don't I? Well, 8 goes into 13 one time, and 5/8 are remaining. So I need to add the 5 plus the 1, and I get 6 5/8. Okay, so if the fraction portion is an improper fraction, I need to pull out how many whole numbers or how many whole units there are and add it to the existing whole units. In this case, I had 5 whole units plus 1 more whole unit. The next one, 5 2/3 minus 3 1/6. We learned that subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So I'm going to start by renaming 5 2/3 as 5 4/6 plus negative 3 1/6. How do I add when the signs are different? Well, I know I subtract, and I give the sign of the bigger absolute value. In this case, it's going to be positive because 5 2/3 is bigger and is positive. 4 minus 1 is 3/6. 5 minus 3 is 2. 2 3/6. I still need to reduce that, and I get 2 1/2 positive. Okay, the last one. Let's add 7 plus, they already have a common denominator, so 10/8. 2 and 10/8. But this is improper. So 8 goes into 10 one time. So that's one whole unit to go with that 2. And then I have 2/8 remaining, which I can simplify to be 1/4. So 3 and 1/4. Letter D. A recipe for punch calls for 1.5 quarts of orange juice, 1 1/4 quarts of ginger ale, and 3/4 quarts of cranberry juice. How many quarts of punch will it make? Pause the video and try to add up these 3 fractions. All right, when I add this, or I find a common denominator of 4, when I add the numerators, I get 2 and 6/4. 6/4 is improper, so I rename it as 1 2/4. 2 plus the 1 is 3, and then 2/4 can be changed to 1/2 or simplified to 1/2, and then make sure you label it quarts. All right, pause the video. It's time for you to try some of these on your own. Try these 4. Come on back to compare. Ooh, these 4. Here we go. All right, for the first one, 3 plus 1 is 4, 4/7. Letter B, 2 over k plus 3 over k. The k is your common denominator. There's your variables, right? We always introduce negatives and variables. So 5 over k. The next one, 10 is already your common denominator, so we have 4/10. When I reduce that, I get 2/5. Lastly, 11 over y plus negative 5 over y. The rules are to subtract and give the sign of the bigger number. And I get 6 over y. Okay? All right, let's find the sum or difference here. 1/8, we're going to cross this one off. I think we already know how to do that. The next one, 1/8 minus 5x over 6. Let's find the common denominator. In this case, it is 24. I multiply this one by 3 over 3, and I get 3/24. This one I multiply by 4 over 4, and I get 20x. Now watch what happens here. Subtracting is the same as adding the opposite. So the 24 stays the same, doesn't it? And then in the numerator, you can simply write 3 minus 20x. You can't add or subtract those, so leave that as an expression. The same thing is true about letter B. Cross this one off. We're going to do this one. 3/7 minus 2 over m. I need to find a common denominator there. Now, my common denominator is the least common multiple between 7 and m, which is 7m. So I multiply this fraction by 7 over 7 and this fraction by m over m. 3 times m is 3m. 7 times m is 7m. The second fraction is 14 over 7m. Do you see that I have a common denominator now? Also note that subtraction is the same as adding the opposite. 3m minus 14 all over 7m. Leave that as an expression because you cannot combine 3m and 14. They are not like terms. All right, it's time for you to give your 5-3A worksheet a try. For the most part, there are very few, if any, there are no variables on that worksheet, so you should be okay. Don't let that scare you. I just wanted you to see what that